Hi, welcome to Cubs and Culture for February 4th, 2018. This is going to be one section today because I'm very tired. Because I still haven't really recovered from third shift. There's something of a weirdness that occurred to me because of the Patriots losing the Super Bowl earlier tonight in terms of expected utility. Expected utility is the amount of pleasure you expect by taking a certain stance. Now, you might think on sort of the first pass, if you follow a sports team, you want your team when they make the championship round, you want them to always be the overdog, like the ones who are expected to win. The thing with that is, if you think about it, that's actually not sophisticated because the chances are always, they're not all 50-50, but they're like 60-40 at any given game or series in terms of our culture, which means 40% of the time the underdog actually wins, whereas the overdog doesn't. Now, if you root for the overdog, i.e. if you were rooting for the Patriots tonight and they lost, that's actually because it's unexpected, more painful, as you sort of increase your suffering because your team lost when they weren't expected to. Whereas if you always sort of root for the underdog, when they do win 40% of the time, you get the increase of joy of the unexpected, and then in most cases where they lose, it hurts less because it's expected. So this is something of a weird tension, like philosophically, because we follow sports and we do sports, especially as like Cubs fans, not only for sort of the entertainment or the joy they bring us. And so if you think about this sort of logically, you should never want your team to be built so they're definitively the best team in the league or in the World Series, because then they'll be the overdog. What you want is you always want your team to be the underdog, because rooting for the underdogs places you in better expected utility situation. And so this is one of the ways in which, when you think about this sort of thing, it's one of the ways in which sort of the ground interest that we have as fans diverge from the ground interest of the general manager or the president of baseball operations, and that because their aim is to build the best team, you don't want to build an underdog team. You don't want to build a Cinderella team. You want to build the best team. So you have to sort of, as a GM, when you put that lens on, you should want, because again, if you just take most situations where it's 60-40, having the overdog team of 60%, you've done your job better, and 60% of the time you'll have actually won your championship. Whereas if you always aim to build an underdog, you're not going to win as often. And so there's that sort of tension. I mean, the reason why I was thinking about this is there's a couple of trade floating around again. This time it's for Schwarber, which is slightly better in my opinion. But the thing is, I find as a fan, my sort of interest is to keep the team together because I'm a Cubs fan. And it sort of bothers me the way in which, I don't know how to quite put this, but like, at what point, how many players can you lose when it's no longer the same team? And I'm not quite sure. Okay, I feel like I'm just rambling tonight. One other thing. Trump once again. Okay, sorry for the hard turn here, but I wanted to talk about this as well. Trump once again demanded that NFL players stand up during the national anthem. This is fucking obnoxious because of, like, it's grossly inappropriate because of the First Amendment for him to be making this argument. But apart from that, excuse me, there's no fucking reason to constantly bring it up. It's an ongoing protest. That what they're protesting hasn't changed. They're not going to start kneeling, like, they're not going to start standing up because fucking Trump demanded it. And I, like, this is one of the things that's real. This is one of the reasons why it's really, like, you have to be so blinkered to not see Trump as a racist. Because of course it's mostly black players protesting police treatment of people of color, and you can't help but hear when Trump is complaining about them not standing during the national anthem. You can't help that he's just calling them uppity, and it's just obnoxious. Okay, anyway, I wasn't feeling particularly inspired tonight. Sorry for the ramblingness. The general point I was trying to get at is fans' interest in the sport is to have joy and entertainment, which can create sort of tensions with the GM because, or president of operations, because there are certain times where, again, so like going back to like in baseball, the playoffs are such a crapshoot, that as fans you should put less stock in them. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. Anyway, it was stock in the playoffs, but as a GM, you have to put a lot of stock into them because it's the ultimate goal. And so, like, sometimes, as fans, you end up in conflict with them, just because of your sort of different projects. Because, like,